It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Okay guys, apologize for this. I'm gonna have to do some sort of crazy dubbing after the fact. Not being lazy, but what I'm saying is Resident Evil 4 has just come out and I'm looking forward to playing this remake. I've started it already. It's a great game. It's one of my favorites. Bearing in mind that this is a remake of another classic game, Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube, which is again very similar to the remakes that they've just been doing on the Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3s. I thought that it would be a good opportunity to make a video where we discuss what I think about remakes and how I feel about them and what I think is going to happen with them in the future, what I'd like them to do. So without further ado, just like with the movie industry, there's been a growing trend in recent years I've seen to remake games which are clearly fan favorites, which everybody knows and loves, and nobody is more prolific at doing this than Capcom currently with the Resident Evil series. I've mentioned it before. I love the Resident Evil series. I think the games are great. Excellent storyline and characters and villains and all that good stuff. Resident Evil 4 for me is the pick of the bunch. I think even though they moved away from the zombies, they clearly had a good thing going with the story and the gameplay and just the general pacing of the game, the graphics. It was pretty revolutionary when it first came out, and Capcom know it. They started off with the remaster or remake of Resident Evil 1, which also came out on the GameCube and was later updated to the PS4. But they really turned it up a notch when they did Resident Evil 2 on the PS4 and updated to PS5, and they followed that up with Resident Evil 3, and I think both of them were amazing really. They used the latest RE engine and they did a real good job when it came to the gameplay mechanics, the graphics, storyline, the voice acting. Everything on it was top notch. And I guess this is kind of what I wanted to discuss really, was if the game studios take care and respect and do it properly, instead of just trying to insert whatever crazy modern storylines which you'll see in most things. If they do a good job and take care with it, you get something like the Resident Evil 4. But also now you can see on the screen Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee, which was a remake of Pokemon Yellow on the Game Boy. This for me came out of nowhere, and once again this is Nintendo's example of how they can turn something pretty amazing really. I mean, anybody who plays Pokemon will tell you Pokemon Yellow, when it came out with a homage to the TV show with Pikachu, was pretty special. And it just shows that if the studios, the game developers, pick up amazing games and think about how they can just update them with modern graphics, modern gameplay, it can be really great. It can introduce a new audience of gamers to classic titles which we all know and love, which are still perfectly great games to play these days. They really can do a good job with them. I guess my fear with all of this is that in the future originality will take a nosedive and the developers will just get lazy. Instead of trying to come up with something new, something original, something amazing, they'll just become lazy and they'll just take the old games and they'll either do a half job or they'll do a substandard job, just give it a new coat of paint just to make it nice and shiny and put it out there just as a quick cash grab, and that's something that we don't want, we don't need. I'd rather they just leave the original as they were and give us something new, even if it isn't as good. We don't want to sully the name of great games and great memories that we've all had in the past. And the next game coming up will be the perfect example of that. You can see on the screen what we're getting, what we got, should I say, with Let's Go Pikachu wasn't that at all. You can see how the Game Boy animations, you know, were extremely basic, worked for its time on the Game Boy, but yeah, that it's just very difficult to enjoy now compared to the capabilities that you're going to get with the Switch and hopefully the next gen Nintendo. It's pretty archaic, and it just makes playing the new games that much more enjoyable. Who doesn't want to see Pikachu Thundershock, poor water Pokemon Magikarps to death? It's incredible. For me, what I'd like to see from Nintendo going forward, I think it's kind of ripe that we get a next-gen VR port of, or remakes, should I say, of Red and Blue. I think that's the only way really to do Pokemon justice with the next gen, and I think with the original 151 Pokemon, if they put them in full 3D with full next gen details, it would just absolutely pop. So hopefully what you can see on the screen now is an example of where a remake has gone pretty bad really. I don't need to introduce GoldenEye 007 on the N64, probably my favourite N64 game. Obviously the graphics don't look great now, but when they've done a couple attempts at doing some sort of remaster, remake versions of GoldenEye, they've never really gone down that great. They've never got the gameplay right, and they've tried to shoehorn Daniel Craig in there, and it just hasn't worked, and it's clearly just a cash grab from the developers who either don't feel confident in creating something new, or they're just being lazy. That's the way I see it, and it's definitely what we don't want to see going forwards. We deserve better than that. Games like Tomb Raider, you know, all these big classic franchises, we just want what we could do with proper respectful remakes of these going forward. So hopefully the developers treat them with a little bit of respect, a little bit of care, and just give the game players what they want really, which is quality. I don't think I'll have a problem with it. It's what we want, what we enjoy, and what we need going forward. Everybody will benefit. Okay guys, it wouldn't be a Retro Roy video without some pickups. What I thought I'd do this time is I had a few big parcels delivered, and I thought I would unbox them live on camera and do a little bit of live reaction, and we could all enjoy what I purchased together. I doubt it we want to sit here and watch me unwrap these, so I will fast forward now. Hopefully by the size you guessed what it was. It was kind of obvious really, clearly a SNES box, and hopefully you could tell just by the colour scheme it's the All Stars variant. Everybody's kind of bread and butter really, most iconic and generally the one that you see mostly of, I guess mainly because it's pretty special and everybody loves it. This guy did a really good job with the packaging, I'll give him hats off to that. So you can see my first impressions were, it's pretty good. Yeah, I'm looking at it there, not bad at all. A couple of minor dents and a little bit of damage, but overall pretty sharp. The colours popped on it. Some crazy sticker, I don't know what that was from. Must have been previously sold somewhere else, second hand. Overall, the edges were a little bit damaged, not in too bad a way. All the tabs were present and in good shape. That's the other thing you want to check for, especially that little tab which holds it in. And looking at the other side as well. Oh yeah, inside the dude had placed this little supporting just so it didn't collapse for shipping, which did a very good job. So overall, yeah, I was quite pleased with that. You might be wondering, TJ, what are you doing with an empty All-Star SNES box? One of the things that I quite like to do, especially with this gaming stuff, is just set myself little completion missions, I suppose, whereby I'll just give myself a little task of doing something. So in this case, clearly it's an empty All-Stars box. What I need to do is source a polystyrene insert and then get all the various leaflets and paraphernalia. SNESes and the control pads and the cables are a dime a dozen, but yeah, I'll put it together and hopefully be able to do it slightly less than the 160 odd that they go for. So here's parcel number 2. Again, this one was flat packed. It's pretty big. Can you guess what it is? I'll give you a clue. It's similar to the first one, albeit slightly older. That should kind of give it away. Bonus points to anybody that thought it was an NES box. Yep, this time it is the classic action set, as you can see. This time the dude flat packed it, separate seller. Once again, I thought it looked pretty good condition from the pictures. Hopefully you can see it's in pretty good shape. Flaps all present and undamaged on both sides. All the edges and the corners looking pretty sharp. It fit together and boxed up very nicely. Similar to the other one, there are just a couple of minor dinks in the front, but overall in pretty good shape, I would say. Similar to the other one, missing the polystyrene insert, but I think I can find one of those. Corners all sharp, looks great. Again, I already have this exact same variant, although mine's probably not in as good a condition. To be fair, mine's got a bigger dent in the front of it. So next we've got something a lot smaller. This one wasn't something that needed completion, but I ordered it when I was away and it looked pretty great. So what do we have? Game Boy Advance game. Good job with the bubble wrapping. Metroid Fusion on the Game Boy Advance. Looking at it there, pretty good condition. Not amazing, but all the edges were pretty sharp. Similarly to all the corners, that's what you gotta look out for. All the tabs were present. Opening it up to check, I could remember if it was complete. It indeed had the manual, albeit it was a little bit beat up, you could see, which was a shame, but not the end of the world really. And for the cart, you can see just about, hopefully, that it's a European variant, but there was a slight scoring on there, which to me tells me that it's fairly likely to be genuine. There you go, you can just about see the markings, so it looks like it's aged. That's something that I recommend you checking, especially with Game Boy games and SNES games, with the dodgy Chinese repro remakes, which seem to be everywhere now, especially for the desirable games. Yeah, you want to be careful. So similar to what I previously said, I'm trying to complete the Metroid series of games. So I need to purchase or need to track down Zero Mission, which has become extortionate, and now also the NES Classics Metroid on the Game Boy Advance, and then I think I'll have most of them. Okay, so just to let you know how much I paid for these bad boys, the All Stars box was about £40 odd, which is pretty good considering the fully ones go for around 160 if fully complete in good shape. I think I'll be able to come under that. Likewise, the action set was the princely sum of £27, which I thought was excellent considering its condition. I think likewise a fully complete one goes for at least 150, but the NESs are generally cheaper for whatever reason. They're less desirable, I guess. So yeah, I think I'll be able to complete that for less than the going rate. Quick touch base with what's going on next. I need to do a games room tour. Everybody's been asking for it, and I think you guys deserve to see the full collection. Other than that, me and Get Retro will be doing a visit up north to York, Southam Games, and then we've got the Old School Gaming Fair coming up in Birmingham in May. So look forward to seeing you there. I wonder if that recorded anything. No. Put the microphone on, guys. Jesus Christ, what a fail. I'll have to record double all this back. Shit. Dun, 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 dun. Shout out to Goldmember, who told me to buy Fighting Force on the PS1. Suggested it was a really cool game. I got this relatively cheap. I think it's a tenner. Don't know much about it. Looks like it's a beat 'em up of sorts. Complete with the manual. How's the disc? I haven't checked the disc. Oh, disc's looking clean for a PS1 game. I just love how they used to do all the crazy colours. A black PS1 disc. It's well sick. So yeah, insert some footage now. Anyway, there you go. There's your lessons learned for today. Make sure you put the microphone on. I apologise for the crappy dub. Hopefully it doesn't look that bad. Cheers. Thanks for watching, guys. Keep it retro.